One of my favorite quotes from W. Clement Stone is, "You can evaluate the principles I'm sharing by one standard only, the action you take and the results you achieve." W. Clement Stone was born in Chicago. His father died when Stone was 3 years old. His mother was a dressmaker. She moved to Detroit and purchased an insurance agency. There, at age 16, he started selling accident insurance. He learned to make cold calls, going from office to office. Stone returned to Chicago at age 20. He established Combined Registry Company and began selling pre-issue accident plans. When an agent sold these kind of plans, the agent would fill in and obtain information from the prospect, then tear off and hand the policy to the prospect at the time of sale. It was instant issue 100 years ago. Through trial and success, Stone developed a sales system for selling a large number of accident policies. He then started personally recruiting agents shortly after establishing the agency. The Depression hit. His agent sales declined. Then it hit him that he had not even been bothering to see his salespeople and sales managers. In a sense, he recruited them and then left them on their own. After realizing how he had let his sales team down, Stone started working with them personally and sending sales ideas on a regular basis. His goal was to train both his current and new salespeople so that they would do as well or better than him. In 1937, Stone read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and the book changed him and his sales team. He required all of his salespeople to read the book, and as a result, his sales managers became leaders of super salespeople, and his salespeople began to set records. By 1939, Stone's agency represented a large Eastern accident and health company. He had more than 1,000 full-time agents, and his agency had representation in every state. It's hard to imagine, but his contract with the carrier was a verbal contract. One day, while on vacation, he received notice from the company that intended to terminate the arrangement. Stone was able to convince the carrier not to terminate the contract, but as a result of the uncertainty, he set a goal for himself that he would organize his own life and health insurance company, and that by 1956, it would be the largest in the United States. He met that goal. In 1956, Combined Insurance was the largest company exclusively writing accident health insurance. In 1952, Stone convinced Napoleon Hill to come out of retirement. The two formed a partnership that led to the writing of The Principles of Success course and Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. Stone also wrote The Success System That Never Fails. While writing his books, Stone had to find a way to write without sacrificing time from his company. He slept only a few hours a night and hired 2 additional secretaries. The secretaries would work in shifts, and when the last secretary left for the day, Stone would continue working using a dictaphone. Now, remember, in those days, there weren't word processors, let alone personal computers. By 1950, every insurance agency and company that sold pre-issue accident policies had discontinued sales, with one exception: Stone's companies. The reason? He had developed a sales system. He and his salespeople were able to sell more policies in a week than other salespeople sold in a month. One of the reasons for Stone's success was that he focused and concentrated on a single kind of policy, and all the attention was focused on that policy sale. Even into his 80s, Stone would go to bed at 1 a.m. and get up at 5:45 a.m. He always took a 30-minute nap at noon. He said the nap made him feel like he was starting a new day. Stone's goal was to change the world. He did it both with his financial contributions and with his impact on people, both personally and through his writing. Stone succeeded in making the world a better place. It is telling to realize that Stone's been gone from active management of Combine for more than 25 years, yet employees still refer to him as Mr. Stone out of respect. Sales principle number 1, attitude. For W. Clement Stone, the first and most important secret of successful insurance sales is that there is no secret, and that success starts with a positive mental attitude. Stone believed sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesperson, not the prospect. I believe that statement was a foundational key to Stone's success. He believed that the salesperson who is inspired and has proper know-how and knowledge can influence the prospect to buy. I must admit, I used to have doubts about this principle. And you may have doubts too. But before you decide, consider the following examples from Stone. First, during the Depression, he had an arrangement with Commercial Casualty to issue a new policy. His sales manager said it couldn't be sold. His salespeople tried to sell it. They said the premium was too high. That summer, for 10 weeks, he personally sold the policy. Because Stone sold it successfully, his salespeople were motivated to try. And as a result of Stone's personal sales, they found it was just as easy to sell as the company's other plans. Another example, Stone was working with a salesman who was complaining about not making any sales in Sioux Center, Iowa. The salesperson complained that it was impossible for him to sell people who were Holland Dutch because they were clannish and there had been recent crop failures that had depressed the area. Stone told him the following day they're going back to Sioux Center. Stone said, "I'll sell most of the day and you can sell for an hour or two." Stone told the salesperson, "Success is achieved by those who try and maintained by those who keep trying with a positive mental attitude. There is an intelligent solution to any problem if you keep your mind on what you want and off what you don't want." Stone conditioned his mind in this way. He told himself, "So the Holland Dutch are clannish, and therefore they won't buy." That's wonderful. What's so wonderful about it? It's a well-known fact that if you can sell to one of a clan, you can sell the entire clan. All you have to do is make the first sale. This can and will be done. The Holland Dutch are marvelous people. They are responsible and want to protect their families and haven't purchased accident insurance from any other salesperson. Our policies offer excellent protection at a low cost. Therefore, they're just waiting for me. I have no competition. The next day, beginning with the bank, Stone began to sell store after store, office after office. Other than one of the bank tellers, Stone sold everyone. The salesperson took over at the end of the day, and he sold everyone as well. As part of my critical steps training, I share the following example. A young salesperson just starting out asked Stone for some referrals and asked Stone if he could use Stone's name. Stone told him, "No problem. Come by tomorrow and my secretary will have some cards with names, addresses, and telephone numbers." The salesperson picked up the cards and then came back to Stone's office on Friday all excited. He told Stone that he had been able to sell 8 out of the 10 and had appointments with the other 2. He asked Stone if Stone could give him some more names. Stone said, "I'm kind of busy right now. Here's the telephone book. All I did was pick one name out of the A's, another out of the B's, another out of the C's, and so on." The prospects whom the salesperson called on had no idea who Mr. Stone was. But because the salesperson believed they were friends of Mr. Stone, he got appointments and made the sales. What do you think? Are sales contingent on the salesperson or the prospect? Sales principle number 2, planning and study. One of the most important habits you can develop is taking time near the end of each day to plan the next day's activity. This stimulates thinking about goals and studying how planned activities for the next day can carry you forward. As Stone points out, This planning activity helps program your mental computer. The subconscious mind goes to work. Moreover, you wake up each day employed. Stone continually emphasized to his management team the importance of setting aside thinking and planning time. Sales principle number 3, a solid presentation. An organized presentation spells success. Here are 9 essential ingredients to successful presentation. I'll also share some of the lines from Stone's combined insurance presentation. First, use a good introduction. Everything must have a beginning. The purpose of the introduction is to get the prospect to listen and arouse interest. Stone would say, this will interest you also. Second, concentrate the prospect's attention. Actually look over the literature yourself while pointing to the illustration, thus using directional force of your own eyes to get the prospect to look at what you're pointing at. Stone taught the salesperson to use the pen to point to the policy to keep the prospect's attention, and then look into the prospect's eyes when they wanted to make a point. Third, relieve tension. You want your prospect to like you, so smile. If you can get your prospect to laugh at effective humor, you can relieve tension with the prospect as well as neutralize timidity on your part. The combined insurance salesperson had a standard joke. Mr. Prospect, we pay even if your feelings are hurt. It was really corny, but everyone laughed, and it had more of an effect to relax the salesperson. Fourth, use enthusiasm. If you talk in a sincere, enthusiastic manner, you will appeal to your prospect's emotions and accelerate your own enthusiasm. Fifth, ask questions. You can direct your prospect's mind in a desired channel by asking specific questions that require answers other than a yes-no reflex answer. You want a series of yes answers. Ask questions that make it easy for your prospect to answer yes. Sixth, give the complete description. Explain the full advantages of the product. If time is short, use as few words as possible. 7, use influential names. Persons buy what people buy, and people buy what other persons buy. The use of influential names reduces sales resistance. Show the names of the people who have already purchased from you. 8, show something. Brochures, pictures, illustration, visual aids that clearly create the picture in the prospect's mind. 9th, use an effective close. Everything must have an ending. Agents who are not in large income brackets are generally those who do not close. And Stone used, if you don't mind, I would like to write this for you. May I? Mr. Jones, what's your first name? No matter how long a show plays on Broadway, the actors continue to rehearse. They are professionals and continuously seek perfection. They know exactly what they're saying. They understand the response and reaction from their audience. Stone looked at sales presentations much like an actor looks at his performance. He could put feeling, emotion, and timing into his memorized talk. When a person goes to the theater and sees a great actor, it seldom occurs to him or her that someone else wrote those lines. The theatergoer may not realize that the actor's actions, as well as his words, are the same at every performance. The actor lives the part. And like a good playwright, the actor improves it at every opportunity. Unlike the playwright, Stone changed the talk to meet changing conditions. But what was said became standardized for such occasions. Thus, if Stone was interrupted at the beginning of the presentation, he would use the standard joke to relieve tension rather than later in the presentation. Other than that, Stone and the agents of Combined Insurance stayed with and followed the company presentation word for word. Stone believed questions were an important part of selling. The philosopher Socrates had an effective system for the art of asking questions. Great salespeople use his method. Ask a question or a series of questions to which the prospect will readily agree. Then ask concluding questions based on those agreements. The technique enables a salesperson to force a desirable response without seeming aggressive. You have to believe in what you're doing. When you're convinced that what you're recommending is the best and most logical course of action for the prospect to take, your mind is clear. It gives you confidence that nothing you encounter will become a deterrent. During the presentation, you must speak the prospect's language. That means stay away from industry jargon. You should simplify suggestions. The power of your recommendations will lie in their simplicity. And simplicity always lies in comprehensive knowledge and thorough preparation. You must speak as one who has authority. You must show enthusiasm for any suggestions that you make. Human emotions are highly transferable. You must look and speak in terms of success. Prospects buy from agents they perceive as being successful. Clear, simple language carries the most conviction. You want the prospect to fully understand all the recommendations and feel that he or she has made the buying decision. The presentation must include repetition. Repetition overcomes communication difficulties. You must try to make your meaning clear by furnishing examples and making analogies. Repeated assertion is hard to resist. The initial reaction of the human mind is to reject anything new. If you repeat something over and over, however, the prospect's natural defenses tend to weaken because the idea is no longer new. Sales principle number 4, a success system. Stone's success was built on selling an accident policy. Stone would give the prospect the choice of 1 or 2 units. Nearly everyone purchased 2 units. His salespeople's objectives were to sell 20 units a day or 100 a week. If a salesperson made 20 presentations a day, he or she should be able to make that 20-unit goal because they were making presentations to multiple people within a company or a family. And remember, his sales force focused only on the accident policy. Stone was a great believer in the importance of the use of repetition in training as well as in selling. Repetition is critical in training, especially when learning something new. I have always said one of my goals in life is to repeat the same message to an agent 8 times in slightly different ways. And then he or she calls me and says, "Ken, I've got this great idea." And it's my words coming back to me. I've learned a lot from W. Clement Stone, but the most valuable is the use of repetition in training and in learning. Stone believed that it takes less time and less work to succeed than to fail. It also takes less time to achieve success when you concentrate your thoughts and efforts on learning a lot about a little and becoming an expert, as opposed to disrupting energies by trying to learn a little about a lot. Therefore, you must focus your attention and effort to acquire the necessary knowledge, know-how, and motivation to become an expert and achieve your desired objective. At one time, many companies sold pre-issue accident policies on a cold canvas basis. By the 1950s, Stone's company was the only one still selling the policies. This was because he developed a sales system, and he and his salespeople were able to sell more policies in a week than other salespeople sold in a month. Stone was able to succeed in the long run because his company's efforts were concentrated on one policy, and the attention was focused on its sale. He developed sales presentations and answers to all objections. His sales team learned his presentation word for word. Later on, Stone added new benefits and new policies such as sickness benefits, hospital indemnity, and life insurance. But a separate sales force was created to sell each policy. It was not unusual for someone from Combined Insurance to call on a policyholder every 6 months. When a sales rep went into town, they first called on the mayor or the police chief to make the first sale. Then, as part of the presentation, they would tell everyone that the mayor or police chief had purchased. The purchase by the mayor or police chief became a built-in testimonial for the town. The sales reps would go business to business, door to door, calling on everyone. When I think of a system, I think of McDonald's in the early days of franchising. Why was McDonald's so successful when the majority of small businesses fail within 5 years? The reason: McDonald's had a system, proven methods, and if you do what they tell you to do, you will succeed. W. Clement Stone did exactly the same thing. If you made the calls and followed the system, you would be successful. His system was proven. It's the reason his companies successfully sold pre-issue accident policies and were the only ones still selling as the other companies faded from the market. Motivation was an important part of Stone's success system. Stone believed that success and sales principles are like the laws of nature. They don't change. For example, if you drop an object from the roof of the building, it's going to drop to the ground 100% of the time. It's the same way with success principles. They work 100% of the time. The salesman is guaranteed success if you follow the principles. But the salesman may never have a successful career nor achieve the desired objections if he or she is ignorant of the principles or fails to use them. Sales principle number 5, emotions are subject to action. One of the most important principles for Stone was that emotions are subject to action, not reason. As I discussed in the chapter on Frank Bettger, if you act enthusiastic, you will be enthusiastic. Try it for yourself. Stone believed the single most important factor in selling is enthusiasm. For years, when speaking to groups, he would have everyone stand up and say, "To be enthusiastic, you act enthusiastic." In his later years, he would ask the group, "How do you feel?" And the response would be, "I feel healthy, I feel happy, I feel terrific." Here's the amazing thing. I tried it with several presentations this last year, and it still works. When business starts to level off for you, you might start a new trend with a new life, new blood, new activities. But you must not abandon the successful formulas of the past and exchange them for new concepts. Why? Successful individuals, corporations, and nations subsequently fail from lack of attention to attitude and the positive mental attitude motivational principles that made them great in the first place. The Combined Insurance sales team would meet every morning. Sales managers would provide motivation, the sales team would discuss goals for the day, and everyone would get fired up to make calls. I had a conversation with Stanley Byer, the former president of Pennsylvania Life Insurance Company, and a person in his own right was one of the greatest salespeople of his time. Stanley developed a success system with Pennsylvania Life. When talking with Stanley, I mentioned that some of the former Pennsylvania Life agents still meet in the morning, noon, at the end of the day. After meeting in the morning and noon, they go out and make calls. Stanley gave me some incredible insight. He said, people are bombarded with all kinds of negative thoughts, and they need to change their self-image. The agent has to learn to control his or her thoughts. That's why the salesperson needs a team. And that's why the team meets in the morning, noon, at the end of the day. This way, the salesperson can control his or her thoughts from breakfast to noon. Then the salesperson needs the leader and the rest of the team to help them refocus. Bob Boyarjian, a senior vice president at Combined, who worked with Stone for more than 30 years, told me that Stone cared deeply about his people. His door was always open, and anyone could come in and talk about financial problems, marital problems, or any other problems for that matter. Bob said Stone told the following story, which also appears in Stone and Napoleon Hill's Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. A minister was watching his son trying to work on an upcoming sermon. The minister needed to find a way to keep his son busy. The minister saw a map of the world in a newspaper, and he cut it up and gave it to his son. The minister told his son that he would pay him to put the map back together. The minister thought that'll keep him busy for a long time. A few minutes later, the son was back with the map together, and the minister said, "How did you do it so quickly?" The son said, "There was a picture of a man on the other side." The minister had a theme for his sermon. If a man is right, his world is right. Stone believed that if a man's world was right, the man's company would also be right. Sales principle number 6, goals are important. When you know what your goal is, several good things happen. First, the subconscious goes to work, following the universal law that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Because you visualize your intended destination, your subconscious is affected by this self-suggestion and seeks ideas and solutions to help you get there. Second, because you know what you want, you recognize opportunities that will help you attain it. You get into action. Third, work becomes fun. You are motivated to pay the price. You study, think, and plan. The more you think about your goal, the more enthusiastic you become. And with enthusiasm, desire turns into a burning desire. Sales principle number 7, self-motivation. Stone used and taught self-suggestion to his sales reps. His methods were based on the work of French psychologist Émile Coué. Dr. Coué discovered that he could improve a patient's healing by having them repeat over and over the phrase, "Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better." Stone extended this concept. He first used the concept to avoid procrastination. He would repeat, "Do it now, do it now." When a salesperson was hesitant about making a call, Stone's favorite self-motivator was, "If there is nothing to lose and everything to gain, then by all means do it." And then, to avoid procrastination, Stone would add, "Do it now." To summarize, W. Clement Stone built an insurance empire on 7 solid sales principles that he both practiced and taught his company's sales force: attitude, planning and study, a solid presentation, a success system, emotions are subject to action, goals are important, and self-motivation. No matter the experience level, you who are looking to increase sales will find a way to integrate these principles into your approach to the business.